Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Crypt of the Necrodancer. I started this one on the pause screen and not the lobby screen, as I did I think my one previous Necrodancer video, because I'm not actually going to be playing this one live. I wanted to provide post-commentary on a run that I did recently that I thought was worth sharing. So we'll just dive right in, and then I'll tell you guys, I don't know, like, you haven't heard from me in 2 months, right? If you're a follower of the channel, you know, if you're watching these from the archives, what do you know? Like, but for people who were watching the videos as they went up, I told you that I just wasn't feeling like recording, and I haven't been. But I have still been playing a lot of Crypt of the Necrodancer, and I love this game. And I've tried multiple times to record it for the channel, but it's just so hard to play at all well while trying to commentate anything because of having to keep the beat. And so every time I try it, I get frustrated and quit, basically. Except for the one time that I did to just introduce anyone who hadn't heard of it to the game before. To the game. Anyway, so I got the DLC expansion several months ago, and I've been playing. And the past, I don't know, almost a month, I've been working on trying to win as Arya, which is who we're playing as now. Arya is one of the most difficult characters in the game. Certainly not the most difficult. Coda is the obvious standout, and I don't know, you could argue about whether Bolt is easier or harder than Arya. I don't have a strong opinion about that. I'm good enough to win with the easier characters, Cadence and Melody and Nocturna. I can win with them very regularly. I think my best streak is 10 or something like that. But Arya is very hard for a couple of reasons. The most obvious is that as you can see in the top right here, I only have half a heart, and you're not allowed to get more. That's the most health you can ever have. If you get hit by anything, you die. You do, as a sort of compensation for that, you start with 1 extra life, but that really is no comparison to being able to sustain many hits. You also get the little charm that says you won't ever have to fight wraiths and stuff, which is kind of cool, but ultimately not that big a deal. Anyway, so how's this run going? Oh right, the other way that Arya is harder is you start in Zone 5 and go backwards to Zone 1. Whereas all the other characters go the other direction, and so you're fighting hard enemies before you can even get whatever upgrades you can legally get as Arya. Sure, you're never gonna get a great armor or whatever, because Arya doesn't wear them. You pick up upgrades as you go, and fighting the hardest stuff earliest is harder than fighting it later, right? So you can't get armor, you can't get health, and further, you can't ever get a better weapon, which is a really, big deal. A lot of enemies are made much easier if you can, deal with them without having to be right up in their face. And so even when Arya, if, you can get some damage upgrade on a ring or something, it's not necessarily just the more damaging weapons that are great, as just the ability to attack in some different direction or whatever, or from further away. Anyway, so here we are, and this run is going okay so far. The big standout is that we have the freeze spell in the top right here. It's a very, very useful spell for when things are not going well, or better than that. When you predict that you'll have trouble with something, you use it, and all enemies within, I don't know, 6 squares of you or something are frozen for 6 or 8 turns. I think it's 8 turns. So it's good for, when there's a boss you're going to have trouble with, or just a combination of enemies who are hard to deal with. I have the Ring of Gold, which is like kind of saving me some time. Because I don't have to like pick up enemy gold drops, and I'm sort of like guaranteed to have enough money to buy whatever I want. But the main thing we have so far is just like the freeze spell and the fact that I haven't died yet. And a torch, like even just a basic torch. That dodge looks very close, but it was like fine. I knew I was gonna have enough time, and if I hadn't had enough time, I could have just dodged differently. This is actually trickier than it looked, because like opening this door is kind of hard, and there's all this stuff from the side that's charging me, like, so that I can't ever focus on the door. But okay, we made it in. And staying to the south of this area here, so that guy with the shield can't get through the wall while I'm busy fighting other stuff. Could have taken some damage there from that thing charging in. I wasn't ready for it yet, but I managed. Oh right, the other thing we have going for us is we picked up the Monkey's Paw. So basically enemies who don't try to damage you, but try to kill you in some other way, are frozen. Monkeys are the classic example. All they try to do is like incapacitate you somehow, confuse you, teleport you, paralyze you, whatever. They all start frozen, and so there's one. Medusas are another kind of monkey-like enemy. And having them start frozen means that there's just way fewer things to surprise you. But anyway, as I was saying, like just a single torch is way better than you might think. I don't know if everyone has the same issue, but for me, it's really hard to react in a single beat. I'm usually planning out a beat or two ahead, and then if something happens that I wasn't expecting, it's really hard to adjust in time. So being able to see what's behind a door before you open it, good freeze, right? This guy teleports every time you hit him, but not if he's frozen, so it's really easy to just unload on him. Anyway, if you open a door and there's an enemy behind it, I have a lot of trouble adjusting my plans to survive that enemy. And a torch warns me ahead of time when that's going to happen, and I can plan accordingly. So even just a +1 torch is fine. A basic torch. I've cleared the level here, but especially on the early levels, it's important to go exploring, I feel like. Because you really need upgrades to make the rest of the game easier. And right now I have like, I was talking about what was going well for this run, but that's changed, right? We picked up heavy glass armor, which is stupendous. It's like, I don't know if it's the best armor you could get for Arya, it depends on your style, but it's very, like, you might prefer the karate outfit or whatever, but heavy glass armor is like ordinary glass armor in that, you know, which protects you, makes you immune to 1 hit. But heavy glass armor gives you 3 hits that you're immune for, and that really matters a lot for Arya, who's not allowed to have any health. It's basically 3 extra lives we picked up there, so most Arya runs I have that have gone at all well have involved heavy glass armor. I'm not good enough to win without stuff like that. And in fact, I mean, I don't know. Spoiler alert, we do win this run, right? That's why I'm recording it. Which I've been trying to do for like a month. And then when I finally started, like, I don't know, I would play Arya when I just kind of wanted a challenge. And like knew I was never going to get anywhere. But, you know, a month or so ago, I started like actually making it to the final boss and then dying. So I started trying to get in some practice against the boss. Here's a clever way to open those barrels. We have the Infernal Torch, so opening, digging that torch wall, opened the barrels without having to spend a bomb or a fireball. I swapped out the Ring of Gold for Ring of Night here. 1 extra damage is like pretty good. Arya can't get that very easily. And in particular, if you can get to 3 damage, it really helps because most enemies have, you know, between 1 and 3 health. By the way, this was a very, I very rarely have to deal with 2 bomb birds right next to each other, so I was perfectly happy to just freeze them and deal with the problem that way. And then fireball the ogre to make sure things stay simple. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, 2 damage. So if you get to like 3 damage, you can kind of treat most enemies as like tissue paper. You just like attack them and they're dead. And you can open boxes easily because they take 3 damage. They have 3 health or whatever you want to call it. Here, of course, I had, you know, plenty of fireballs, I have bombs, whatever, lots of ways to open boxes. But it's still nice to get to 3 for boxes and for the enemies where that's relevant. And bats are so, like, as Arya, you have to be so careful, because if you, they do just as much damage as everything else, and they are so unpredictable. So it's hard to plan out a beat in advance, which I was saying is kind of like the natural thing to do, because the bats move unpredictably. There I was just kind of fancy for fun. I could have just attacked him, but I instead arranged to put him in a place where I could fireball him by digging out a torch. I don't know, it's just kind of cute. Here I'm trying to find some way to open these barrels without spending a bomb, and I eventually realized I can knock them up into these spike traps, I guess is what you might call them. And picking up the Torch of Strength indeed gets me to 3 damage. So on this one level I upgraded from 1 damage to 3, which was kind of my goal. Here I got confused because I always forget that heavy glass armor makes you immune to wind in the same way that like heavy plate does. Also, you can't see it in the replay, but during the actual real game, several of these levels I've had the beat bars down to red because I'm like exploring, you know, up until the end of the song, basically trying to make sure I find everything that's there. Here I make a little mistake. I forget that I don't have the Infernal Torch anymore. I tried to fireball that guy by digging out a wall, but it's like dug out the wall. So I was like, forget it. I'll just let him go over there and never see him again. And at this point in the game, I kind of like have all the stuff I need. There's a few things I would like, but I have heavy armor, I have 3 damage, I have a couple useful spells, and so I'm much less concerned with fully exploring every level. I'd like a shovel. That's right, the other thing is being unable to buffer against anything except the weakest of walls kind of sucks. And also, like, Circlet is like a way, way, way better torch, basically, right? Because what I want it for is, like, let me see enemies so I can plan out a route of attack. As I did there, right? You saw me spend, I don't know, 6 beats just hopping back and forth, trying to plan out how to deal with that room with the mummy in it. Where if I didn't have the circlet, I would have just opened the door and been like, oh man, what do I do, right? Here was me deciding if it was worth it to go clear the rest of the level, and it wasn't. Anyway, so, you know, having those 6 beats or whatever to plan, and then decide I'll just fireball it twice and not have any issues, that's a big, big, big deal. So anyway, that was why, like, the circlet was nice. But in general, like, I don't need it, right? At least I don't think I do. Which is why I'm perfectly happy to skip big chunks of levels already. I have, like, mapping via circlet, 3 damage and 3 glass armor, right? Like, what more could you ask for? You know, you could ask for the shield spell, for example. That would be fair, but it's not worth risking fighting a bunch of enemies. See, here I am again. Get to plan how to tackle the room. So I really do love having circlet. Yeah, and like freeze just lets you take these boss fights that could be very tricky. And now it's like, do I want to go in there and try to grab that box? No, I don't. Or do I actually go in there? I don't remember. I think I do. Yeah, this lich actually walks into the spikes. I remember now. These birds, it's really, I find, tricky to fight them while anything else is around. I guess they're harpies. It's tricky to fight them while anyone else is around. But they're so much faster than everything else, and indeed faster than you, that like as long as you just start retreating when you see them, they catch up to you, and you don't have to fight anything else with them. So that's usually the approach that I take to them. As you know, Arya can't gain health, and so getting like cheese is kind of like, what's the point? But it does give you a frame or two of invincibility if you're good enough to use it when you're like planning to take a hit. I'm not good enough to predict when I'm going to take a hit, and so I just grab stuff that's useful in other ways. I'm going to be quiet a little so you can listen to Fortissimo rap. And I took some damage there. I'm still not used to Fortissimo. He was added in the expansion, and I, like... His patterns are relatively simple, but I'm just still not very good at it. And I dodged the wrong direction when he was about to attack. So he got me, and I now only have 2 heavy glass armor. I was trying to decide here which chest to go for. The purple one for something magical. You know, I might get the shield spell, for example. I decided to go for the black one to see if it would give me a shovel, basically, or maybe, I don't know, what else exactly I would want. Everything else I have seems pretty okay. I wouldn't mind, like, different boots, maybe. And there's a shovel that, like, I don't know why I didn't buy it. I don't like pickaxe very much, but it's obviously better than, like, just basic shovel. And it's not like the money is a problem, so I really should have gone and grabbed that. Here, I got surprised. I did not at all realize that Lich was behind the dragon. And I was just suddenly confused. And scrambling to make sure that I didn't cost myself any health or miss a beat or whatever. Yeah, and so at this point, like, by zone 3, I often start diving pretty hard because there's often a relatively straight path to the exit, and I'm not, like, really dying for any upgrades. Oh, I'm about to almost make a mistake. There you go. I didn't realize I had lead boots, and when I stepped on that ice, I expected to slide, and therefore not need to put in an input for that turn. And then when I didn't, I was like, oh my gosh, press any key! And it put me on the tempo trap, which sped up the dance, and then I mean, I can handle a tempo trap, but it wasn't one I was expecting to step on either. And so I did, I think, pretty nearly miss a beat there. Was that the... Yeah. I remember digging that out, but I couldn't remember if it had actually had the gold or if I had just misseen out of the corner of my eye. And there's glass slippers. I haven't yet decided whether I actually want them. Lead boots do have some slight advantage over glass slippers in some circumstances. In particular, like, glass slippers let you ignore all terrain, basically, but they break if you get hit, as anything glass does. For Arya, that's not much of a concern, because if you get hit, you're most of the time dead. Or at any rate, you get hit many fewer times in an Arya run than a Cadence run, right? Simply because if you got hit as many times, you would be dead. You know, sometimes you do eventually get hit, and it would be nice to still have lead boots after that. But the lead boots also do a couple things. In particular, they protect you from more traps. Spike traps you can step on if you have glass boots, or lead boots. And directional push traps also don't affect you if you have lead boots. However, I have heavy glass armor, which has the same effect. You can't be pushed by push traps. So the only real difference would be spike traps. And given especially that we're in zone 3, where there's like all these terrain hazards, I think glass slippers are the obvious choice. This was kind of awkward. I couldn't get these guys to figure out how to come attack me. They kept stepping on a confusion trap and walking the wrong way. Yeah, so we haven't really gotten like any serious upgrades in a while, and that's fine. We don't need them, right? The glass slippers were admittedly a pretty big pickup, I guess. But I was doing okay with lead boots, and I think that I would have continued to do fine. I almost just left without killing that stuff, but then I noticed this shop in the bottom left, and thought like, well, it should be pretty easy to disarm this one enemy to get to the shop. Let's go see what's going on. And, you know, nothing I want here, but worth checking out. Deep blue. I often have trouble with deep blue. The tricky knights especially. So I waited until the queen was out and made sure that I wasn't going to get captured by a knight after the unfreeze. And like just taking out the knights and the queen, that's more or less enough to trivialize the fight. I can handle a bunch of pawns, bishops, and rooks. Usually. Yeah, still digging for a shovel, still not getting one. But with a compass and circlet, zone 1 and 2 go by very, very quickly. You can just head straight for the exit, and there's not really anything I need. I actually, at this point, decided to buy the Riches Scroll. It only gives you 150 coins, and it costs 200, but if you've been keeping a close watch, you may remember I picked up a coupon on 4.2, I think? Maybe it was 4.1, but no, I think it was 4.2. And I finally spent it here. I was like, whatever, might as well just cash it out for 150 gold, right? And what did I just get? Something good happened, right? Yeah, I got the grenade charm. I used to like not be a huge fan of that, and then I realized something I did not previously know, even though it's in the text, is that like it not only makes you throw bombs and they go off faster, but the bombs do more damage. And so a grenade is a great way to deal with some kind of tough bosses without having to get next to them, which is a luxury Arya rarely has. I was tempted to grab that Ring of Peace, actually. Because, like, fewer enemies, right? It's pretty great. Fewer things that can hurt you. I didn't, though, because I think 3 damage is still better than 2. And picking up shield spell was kind of the last major thing I still wanted. Is having shield and freeze makes you gives you a variety of tools. In addition, I mean, like, to the grenade charm, right? Yeah, I have a lot of tools to deal with whatever might come up. And you'll see me do, by the way, like, just there, I opened that box with a bomb in it, and then I, like, ran away. Like, why? It's just a bomb, right? This is... Oh, let's do this fight real quick. Whenever I hear this song, you know, I'm just watching someone, I have to stop talking, or stop doing whatever I'm doing when the skip beat happens. Like that, see? You get it? I was talking, and then I took a little break. I very often have trouble with King Konga just because, like, dealing with all these Konga lines while there's a few other enemies around, it's kind of complicated. So I took advantage of my grenade charm this time to blow up his throne instead of fighting the Konga line, and it really helped out. It made the fight much easier. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, running away from good things. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's hard to react in just a single beat, and sometimes boxes have enemies in them. So if you have the luxury, I usually, after opening a box, I run away from it, like, just to make sure, in case there was something bad, I haven't, like, reacted too slowly. And you might have noticed in the shop, I declined to buy an Ice Spirit Familiar, which is a great item that I'm usually happy to have, and obviously I don't care about the money. But I'm just so close to the end, and I feel like I'm kind of set up with what I need, and the last thing I want is for combats to start suddenly being a little bit weird because enemies get frozen when I'm not really expecting them to. Of course, you can control when enemies get frozen with the Ice Spirit, but, like, I might accidentally freeze them. I was almost never going into this shop, by the way. Like, I don't want to fight... That's like the decoy, the monster shopkeeper or whatever. Like, he won't sell you items. If you walk in, he tries to kill you. And that's great if you get it early and, like... Because he's not that hard to fight, and you can get some good items off him. But, he's not super predictable, and you could take a hit, and I didn't see any reason to risk it. I guess with my spells, I probably would have been fine, but I didn't really want to risk it. But in case there was some item in there that was like, press a button to win a game. Like, if there's a Scroll of Need, I guess, I would have fought him for that. So I just wanted to double check what he had by walking in the doorway. And something I'm doing a lot in this late game is like I have good items, but I'm acting like I don't have them unless I have to. Like there, I could have just stabbed that guy and killed him. He only has 2 health. I have 3 damage. But I just wanted to act like I had the dagger. Took damage there. I forgot there was a skeleton. Well, I didn't forget there was a skeleton behind the Minotaur. I just like was unable to predict what he would do because I couldn't see his arms. Even though, like in principle, I could count how many beats it had been, and it shouldn't be that hard. I just got a little confused. So we're down to just one point on the glass armor now, plus our extra life. Anyway, I'm trying to act like I only have an ordinary dagger and an ordinary shovel, just so I can't like make any weird mistakes. I'm trying to play things as safe as I can, and only using my like extra powers when I have to. I didn't want to deal with 2 skeleton knights, as you can see. So a shield made that fight pretty simple. Freeze would have also probably been fine, but I find freeze is I don't know which one's better really. Anyway, here we are on the last level before the final boss. And these 2 skeletons advancing in parallel is like really spooky, and I just didn't want to mess with that. Pull them out into the open, where they're safer to engage. At this point, I'm like, oh, the shop. You know, I'll try to go over the shop. There could be something I would want. And then I saw this spider, like, coming up to the wall, and I was like, forget it. I don't want to have to accidentally get hit by a spider on my way out. And here, I'm like... This water makes me very nervous. I know I have glass slippers, but I just, like, was scared of going into it when there was a dragon coming. Just, like, out of habit, right? Even though I know it won't matter. And I learned something just there, which is that normally a mimic, right? You, here, before we go into the final boss fight, let me finish that thought. A mimic of some sort, or, you know, a wall mimic or a chest mimic or whatever, you can't attack it on the turn that it, like, kind of bares its teeth and reveals itself. You have to, like, run away for a turn. There, I froze everything, including the box mimic, which I did not yet know was a mimic. And then, when I moved adjacent to it, it immediately bared its teeth, and I attacked it, thinking at the time that it was still just a box. But I actually killed it. So apparently, when a mimic is frozen, that counts as being revealed for the purposes of being attackable, which is news to me. Anyway, just thought I'd explain that. Let's move on to the golden loot fight, which I have spent in the past week, I don't know, two hours practicing, maybe even 3. And here, they give me some glass armor to downgrade from my heavy glass armor because it's important to have these little foot things to adjust your tempo, and with heavy glass armor you ignore those. Anyway, so you have to like attack his head, which moves like a black bat, and then once it's damaged it starts moving like a red bat, so you have to like adjust your tempo to get up there. And I was so glad that grenade worked, because the tough thing in this fight in my practice runs has been those dragons that spawn. Dealing with them while all the wall stuff like is shooting at you. Anyway, so here I am, and I'm actually kind of confused, like why aren't these guys firing? And I actually like use up my extra life after killing the last enemy in the game, just because I'm trying to figure out like why aren't these things shooting? They're not allowed to without the loot playing, like... But they're acting like they're going to, and it was very confusing to me. That doesn't happen in like most of the practice runs I had. And as always, I forgot to use my shield spell at all. There were definitely some times in that fight where it was dicey enough that it would have helped. But that practice against the loot was enough, and I made it, and I used the grenades somewhat careful, you know, when they would be useful. Used shield once, freeze a couple times, you know. And finally got my Aria win, which is like a big milestone for me, right? Like I've won a lot of Cadence and Melody, one Aria game. I don't think I've won Dorian, like why would you? I guess it kind of like teaches you to use the Boots of Leaping, basically. I've won Eli, which is like lame, but whatever. Bard, of course. I've won Monk and Dove each, I think, just once. I don't remember for sure. Nocturna is, of course, easy to win. I've won Diamond. And I've actually won Tempo, which is pretty hard, but not as hard as Arya. Mary I can't do, and Bolt I can't do. You have to streak a win of every character to unlock Coda, which is like, are you kidding me? And then Coda is himself like even harder. I don't know. So I don't plan to like unlock Coda anytime soon, and I don't expect I'll get many more Arya wins even. But I was really pleased to get just even this one, and I wanted to share it with you guys. I'm still not really making any promises to upload more videos anytime soon. Like I said, I've mostly been playing this game, and it's just not conducive to playing while recording, so I'm not doing that. But, you know, if anything comes up, you never know. I'll be back one of these days. But for now, I just hope you guys enjoyed that Arya run that I managed to win. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you someday.